The Hong Kong government has announced its first ever COVID-19 lockdown. Thousands of people residing in the Yuan and Jordan areas of Hong Kong have been ordered to stay in their homes for the weekend. The Hong Kong government made this announcement at 4 a.m. local time. The health authorities plan to test each and every person living in the area in the next 48 hours. As per the South China Post, the lockdown will involve about 150 residential buildings, 9,000 people living in the region. All residents will be required to stay at home until they test negative for the deadly virus. Hong Kong authorities have said that they want to make sure that there are 0 cases of COVID-19 in the region and that people can resume work from Monday. Now remember that Hong Kong was the first country to be hit by the coronavirus after China. It has managed to keep the total number of infections under 10,000 with under 200 fatalities. But over the last 2 months, the city has been hit by a 4th wave of infections. And authorities are now struggling to bring the deadly numbers down. Through the past year, the Hong Kong government has been reluctant to impose stricter containment measures. There were strict and economically taxing social distancing measures, but no lockdown. The reason was that authorities did not want to ignite a crisis in the city that has already been rocked with protests. For more on this story, we're being joined live by Ryan Kirkpatrick, a journalist from Hong Kong. Thank you for being with us on this broadcast. Now, the Hong Kong government has announced its first ever COVID-19 lockdown since the beginning of the pandemic. This is quite a serious step. Why have they decided to lock down the city now?
Yes, although the government is very insistent people don't call it a lockdown because that shows just how big of a step it is, how drastic these measures are. Now, these 10,000 people are put under de facto lockdown because of this 4th wave. Over the past week, there's been about 160 people in Yamate, Jordan, and Mongkok areas who have been diagnosed with COVID-19. So this has emerged as a latest hotspot for the virus. And so they're putting these measures in place to enforce mass mandatory testing across these 10,000 residents to ensure, as they say, that everyone there would be COVID-free by the time they finish this mass testing exercise in 48 hours.
Is that very ambitious of the government to expect the mass testing to be completed within such a short space of time?
Completing the testing isn't necessarily a huge deal. Of course, cities in China have tested hundreds of thousands of millions of people in that similar time frame. So that's not out of the question. Although people are questioning just how effective this measure will be to curb the virus when the number of cases has been fairly static the past week. And also they question why this neighborhood in particular has been targeted, which is one of the poorest, most densely packed neighborhoods in Hong Kong and home to many ethnic minorities, instead of the neighborhoods where the 4th wave started, which was, of course, in private dance studios for middle to upper class people in Hong Kong. So they're wondering why the poorest of the city are being punished at this point.
And is that the general feeling? It's more a sense of punishment as opposed to a drastic step in order to protect them. What is the feeling of the people?
Yeah, there's also a lot of confusion around the imposition of the lockdown itself because details were leaked to the press 24 hours before the lockdown came into place, but the government wouldn't confirm or deny if it was happening, which resulted in some panic buying, people leaving the area. So there's been criticism for the government for not being transparent enough, as well as last week government officials sort of made statements specifically targeting South Asian Hong Kongers living in the area. So that was also picked up on media that sort of picked up on this discriminatory narrative, even though only about 4 of the 700 cases diagnosed this month actually involve people from ethnic minority communities. So there has been a lot of criticism about how the government has handled this effective lockdown.
Right. Ryan, thank you very much for bringing us all the latest there from Hong Kong. WION, now available in your country. Download the app now. Get all the news on the move.